All right. Good evening. My name is President Heminger. Today is Monday, February 26th. This is the February General Membership Meeting of the NAACP Arlington branch, and I call this meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. I see we have Sister Dunkley. Would you please open us up with a brief word of prayer?
Yes, I will. Dear Heavenly Father, we come this evening, Father God, saying thank you, Father God, for another day. Well, Father God, as we come, Father God, preparing for this meeting, Father God, I ask that you would be the head and that we will follow. Bless the presidents and the vice presidents, God, as they journey, Father. Bless each and every person that's on this Zoom under the sound of my voice. It's in the precious name of Jesus that I do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sister Dunkley. All right. At this time, I would like to seek a motion from a member. I'm seeking to suspend the rules. National has established a very particular way for branches to conduct their meetings across the U.S. Our executive committee did adopt and approve a varying budget. And so in order for me to proceed, I would need a motion from a member to suspend the rules.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Thank you,
And I
Madam.
second.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and thank you, Sister Dunkley. There's a motion on the floor. It's been properly moved and seconded. The motion is to suspend the rules. Will all those members in favor of suspending the rules, would you please say aye?
Aye.
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 All those members that oppose, you have the same right. And is there anyone abstaining? All right, Madam Secretary, please let the record reflect that that was a unanimous vote. All right, folks, I'm gonna attempt to work with technology. I wanted to show just a quick video to celebrate Black History Month, so bear with me as I get my technology together.
I have some.
All right, Madam Secretary, I'm gonna go ahead and share screen, and if you could just let me know if you could hear it once I start it, I would really appreciate it. Oops, I gotta share audio. All right. Share. Share sound, video. All right, let's try this again. Madam Secretary, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay, great. I'm gonna start and stop it.
Let us know our country fought.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Members, please enjoy this brief video as we celebrate Black History Month.
A civil war in the 1860s. But less is known about what came afterward, the chaotic, exhilarating, and ultimately devastating period known as Reconstruction. It was a moment of profound change, with promises of citizenship and equal rights for all. One of the greatest achievements of Reconstruction was granting Black men the right to vote. In 1867 alone, over 80% of all the Black men in the former Confederate states registered to vote. 3 years later, Hiram Revels was elected the first Black man to serve in the United States Senate, and Joseph Rainey became the first Black United States Congressman. Their election paved the way for more than 2,000 Black office holders who served at every level of government during Reconstruction.
There are not many moments in recorded human history where a group that was so subordinated would, within the space of a decade, actually be integrated into the highest echelons of political society.
But the momentum wouldn't last. Black men's access to the ballot box, along with other key rights gained during Reconstruction, were rolled back systematically throughout the South. In 1875, near the end of Reconstruction, the 44th Congress included 7 Black House members and a United States Senator. By 1900, only one remained, Congressman George Henry White of North Carolina.
By the time George H. White leaves office in 1901, he literally turns the light off on national Black political leadership. No one will come behind him for an entire generation.
one of the cruel ironies of Reconstruction is that black people could claim certain rights in the 1870s that they would have to fight to reclaim in the 1960s. A sobering reminder that achievements thought permanent can be overturned and rights can never be taken for granted.
All right, thank you, folks. I thought that video was so on time for what we're going to be discussing tonight. Of course, we are honored to have our state conference president with us, and he's going to talk a little bit about the importance of this year's election. He's going to tell you a little bit more about what it means to be a priority state. He's going to talk to you about some of the goals that National has established, and he'll be here to help answer some questions. So, Mr. President, I know you're on. Thank you in advance for being here. We're going to make a couple announcements, and then we will turn the show over to you. Madam Secretary, are there any elected officials on this evening?
None that I see at this time.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and go to the financial report. Madam Treasurer, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Madam Secretary, can you share the document with everyone?
I know the secretary was having some issues with audio. Madam Secretary, are you there?
Yes, and I'm going to share the screen now.
Okay, great. Madam Treasurer.
Thank you. Again, good evening, everyone. This is the January financial report for the branch. For revenue for January, we received $759.90. In expenses, we had a total of $28,272.13. That then takes us to our balances for our savings in the reserves to $22,000. The branch operations account is has an ending balance of $6,339.16, and our scholarships account has an ending balance of $255,322.04. And that is the January report.
Thank you. Madam Treasurer, if I may interrupt you, I actually skipped an important step. And before we take any action, Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Certainly, we have President Heminger, who's present. First Vice President James Younger.
Present.
Second Vice President Laurel Langhorne.
Present.
I'm Secretary Wanda Younger, present. Assistant Secretary Kathleen McSweeney. Treasurer Adriana Spain.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large Karen Nightingale. Executive Committee at Large Kelly Macbeth.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large Nadia Conyers. Communications, Leah Matarol.
Present.
Thank you, Ms. Conyers.
You're welcome.
Communications, Leah Matarol. Criminal Justice, Amy Stitzel.
Present.
Education, Tia Alfred.
Present.
Environmental Climate Justice, Julius J.D. Spain Sr. Health, Tasia Iglesias. Housing Chair Wells Harrell will not be present this evening. Political Action, Jan Marie Pena.
Present.
Religious Affairs, Pastor Davis. Religious Affairs, Rosa Dunkley.
Present.
That concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Madam Treasurer, please proceed.
So I have presented the January financial report.
All right, and at this time, I'd like to entertain any motions from a member.
I'll
I
make
move,
a. Go ahead, First Vice President.
I move that the January financial report be accepted, subject to audit.
Thank you,
I
First
second.
President, and thank you, Sister Dunkley. There's a motion on the floor to adopt this financial report as presented by the treasurer and subject to audit. It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, will all those members in favor of adopting this report as presented and subject to audit, would you please say aye?
Aye.
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 All those that oppose, please say nay. And any members abstaining? Madam Secretary, please let the record reflect that that was a unanimous adoption.
Yes.
All right, I'd like to thank you, Madam Treasurer, for your efforts. I'd like
welcome.
to move us to the next item that I wanted to briefly talk about. I know we have President Richardson with us from the Youth Council. President Richardson, the floor is yours, sir. Could you please tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the Youth Council, what you've been up to, maybe tell the members a little bit about the Voice event. We'd love to know all about what's going on in Youth Council. The floor is yours, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President Heminger. So hello, everybody. My name is Jaden Miles Richardson. I am a senior at the Arlington Career Center High School, and I'm also the president of our Youth Council here for the Arlington branch. So just to give, a quick kind of, update, just to let everybody know what we've been doing. As most people know, as of recently, we have, kickstarted our Youth Council, and we've started to get things going. Things are currently in motion. One thing is that our council members are meeting weekly to get things done. And so most recently, we were asked among the entire NAACP branch to be a part of the Voice event at Kenmore a couple weeks ago, and to where me and a couple other members, a part of the Youth Council, spoke, in attempt in as our attempts, they actually succeeded to get funding for schools, for after-school programs, to ensure that kids have a safe place to be able to spend time after school to help avoid a drug overdose. So that's another goal that the Youth Council we have. We want to be able to make sure that youth in Arlington are aware of the possibilities and the resources that I have. So being able to speak out at the Voice event has been able to get the word out there about the things that us at the Youth Council are doing, and the NAACP thing that we are doing, but also in the impact that we're making to make sure that kids are being able to be safe. In addition to that, since that event, we've been trying our best to stay busy, and we're currently trying to make sure that we're networking with as many people in the NAACP general meeting, general population, and try to meet with as many try to get as many contacts with as many committee members. So that's currently one of our top priorities. Is we want to be able to make sure that we're working with the committees so we can get more outreach into the youth, because as everybody knows, working on the youth is extremely important. So that's probably one of our top priorities. And in addition to that, we're also hosting a retreat. We're also hosting a retreat because of how new and how we're renewing the chapter. We want to make sure that not only the members of the Youth Council, but also anybody in the NAACP, if they're willing to come, we're going to have a retreat in early March to make sure that everybody's getting a feel of what it looks like and what it means to be a part of NAACP, and especially the Youth Council. So very excited to be working on these things, and especially excited to start and continue working with the committees in NAACP.
All right, awesome. Thank you for your efforts. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our Youth Council advisor, at-large member Conyers. Would you like to address the membership? Anything you'd like to add?
Just want to say thank you for giving the young people a chance to speak tonight, an opportunity, and we appreciate that, and we look forward to our continued work with the general body. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And President Richardson, congratulations on a job well done so far. I know you were mentioned in the press. Was that your very first press interview?
It was not, but it was definitely, I would say, probably my biggest, I would say, yeah.
All right. You have many more to come. So we're looking forward to the good work that you and your leadership team will do. And thank you, at-large member, for all that you do as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I know President Richardson has to run to take a test. So if he hops off, he did let me know. So President Richardson, you may be excused.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to move us to a couple of brief announcements. We'll hear from our first and second VP, and then we'll hear from our state conference president. Madam Secretary, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So folks, welcome again tonight. Very important update. You'll see a QR code on your screen. I'm happy to announce that in executive session last night, our executive committee did adopt the budget for fiscal or calendar year 2024, I should say. And the state of the Treasury is very strong. The state of the Treasury is healthy, and we have set some ambitious goals for ourselves as a branch. Our goal is to raise almost $100,000 through all the different initiatives and efforts, and we need your help. And so you're going to hear a couple updates tonight, and I want to encourage you to really become a member. Our membership is the lifeblood of our organization, and we really cannot do it without you. You'll see a QR code on your screen. So many times I talk to folks and they think that they're a member, but there's no way for you to renew your membership automatically every year. And so if you have not renewed your membership within the last 12 months, it's only $30. I'm going to ask you to give up your coffee for a week, maybe give up a dinner, and join the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization in America. All right, next up, I wanted to bring your attention to our Silver Life members. Several of them are on with us this evening. I want to send a big heartfelt thank you on behalf of the executive committee and this entire branch for becoming a Silver Life member. A Silver Life member is someone that has paid $750. They are members of the association for the rest of their life. And so, Arlington, I know we live in one of the most prosperous communities in the entire world. And I'm going to ask you tonight, if you are able to please join all of these incredible names that you see on your screen and become a Silver Life member. You pay that $750 to become a life member for the rest of your life. These are our boldest, strongest supporters that we have in the association. And so thank you again on behalf of the executive committee and this branch for allowing us to do what we do. Okay, next I'm going to bring us to an event that's occurring on Wednesday, February 28th at 7:30 p.m. We will hear from Arlington's newest delegate, Adele McClure. She is Arlington's first Black delegate, and she'll be providing a update on the legislative session. So if you're free on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., I want to invite you to join us for this event. We are co-sponsoring this with many fraternity and sorority partners. So please come out on Wednesday if you're available. All right, next up, we're going to hear a lot about this tonight from our state president, but the presidential primary is March 5th. So March 5th, the polls are already open. If you want to vote early, let's go ahead and get that done. You have until March 5 to get your vote in for the presidential primary. All right, next up, I'm going to bring you to the annual Freedom Fund celebration. Pardon my error, I accidentally put 2023, but that will be October 5, 2024 at 6 p.m. It's going to be at the same location that we had it last year at George Mason University, the Arlington campus. I think you'll remember we sold out in about 3 weeks. So folks, please save the date. We expect the event to sell out again very quickly this year. There will be very limited seating. Last year, we did hear from Simone Sanders. She brought down the house. We've already been in conversations this year with speakers as well. And so please stay tuned. We're going to have some very exciting announcements that are going to be coming in the upcoming days and weeks. But go ahead and save that date on your calendar, Saturday, October 5, 2024 at 6 p.m. at George Mason University in Arlington. So we are in the process of adopting that budget. Non-members will likely pay a higher amount equal to or higher than an annual membership. And so, again, if you're not a member of the branch, I want to compel you to do that this evening. You will get that discounted pricing. You'll get early bird seats. You'll get a guaranteed seat at Arlington's largest social justice event of the year. All right, next up is a membership drive that we're currently doing. Our goal is to get 30 new members. We have 54 people on the call tonight. We can easily close that gap. We're about 75% of the way there. I think the last time I heard we were at 22 or 24. So we really just need 6 more members that are willing to pay $30 a year to join the oldest and boldest and largest civil rights organization in America. So if you're not a member, again, I want to encourage you to do so. Brief update on the Arlington County Detention Center. I think most of you should know that we have been fighting for justice for years within the Arlington County Detention Center. 9 people have passed away in 8 years, and 8 of them have been people of color. Almost all of them have been Black men. We have spoken with people that are currently incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, healthcare staff or the current and former provider. We've spoken with people that work inside the jail. We've spoken with DHS. We've spoken with the county board. We went to the attorney general. We wrote to the board of local and regional jails. We've met with Department of Justice. We've written letters, press campaigns, press conferences. We've really left no stone unturned. And so the most recent development is about 2 weeks ago, the Human Rights Commission in Arlington joined our efforts to call on the Department of Justice to conduct an independent investigation. Unfortunately, that letter was met with swift resistance from the county board members in the form of their own letter. The county board wrote their letter to the Department of Justice stating that the Human Rights Commission was acting outside of their authority. And so we feel that the county board weighing in on this issue actually encourages the Department of Justice to conduct an investigation. The next time you talk to your county board members, I want to encourage you to ask them why they are opposing the efforts from the Human Rights Commission. If there is one commission that is certainly trying to be on the right side of history, we know that that's the Human Rights Commission. So we will seek to understand more from our county board in the coming days and weeks. Make no mistake, we're still on the front lines. We're in conversations with the state conference and national about our strategic next steps. So stay tuned. All right, next up, members, I want to bring your attention to a bill. This is a bill that sought to change the county board form of government. This is a bill that unfortunately is going to be carried over until the next session. We will be coming out very strongly in favor of this bill. As you may or may not know, Arlington's form of government was changed almost 100 years ago to restrict Black voters, restrict Black participation. And for almost 100 years, we didn't see any Black person elected to any office in Arlington. So again, the bill is HB 1225. And as that bill makes its way through session next year, we will certainly keep our membership apprised, and we will be calling on you to potentially take action and join our effort. Okay, next up, we heard briefly from President Richardson. We know that the youth overdoses in our community are taking a toll on our community. We know that the numbers are accelerating. And so several groups, including our branch, Voice, ASHPA, a bunch of PTA groups, we all came together and we demanded $2 million from our county board. You'll remember back in December, we were successful in getting $750,000 as a one-time pilot. We did have a meeting with the county manager on Friday. As you know, the county board is currently in the budget review process, but we want $2 million in the budget for free, high-quality after-school programming. So stay tuned. We're going to be calling on you. We're going to need your help in this effort. All right, I'm going to move us to the next item. Maybe that is our last one. All right, that's our last item. Again, if you're not a member of the branch, I want to encourage you to join the nation's oldest, boldest, and largest civil rights organization in America. Is Gary Gaston with us this evening, Mr. Gary Gaston?
I do not see him on.
Okay, that's all right. Members, I wanted to let you know that we have a new chair of the Economic Development Committee. His name is Mr. Gary Gaston. very, very fired up about getting started. We had a couple conversations with him. The executive committee did confirm him last night. And we have 12 different committees that are very active. So if you want to get involved, there's a lot of opportunities to do so. Madam Secretary, am I missing anything?
I think we're right on time for the introduction of President Bailey.
Thank you. All right, before I do that, I did want to just turn briefly to our first vice president. Would you like to provide any updates to the membership?
Yes, I'm very, very honored, very grateful that our state president joined us tonight. He has very, very vital information. And what I would encourage each and every one of you to do is do like me. I'm going to be taking some notes and use the points that you take down when you go out and do voter outreach. I would encourage each one of us to be an ambassador for voter outreach. And I think the information provided by President Bailey will help us and enhance the manner in which we do that and make us very successful with regard to voter outreach.
Thank you. Second VP.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to give a quick another Save the Date event we have coming up, and that is our block party and health fair. It is planned for Saturday, May 18th from 12 to 5 at Highview Park. It's going to be live music, food. We hope to have information on county services in the areas of health and education, and also financial
empowerment. And we're kind of hammering out some details. There'll be more information to come on that, but I would just say to save the date again, Saturday, May 18th from 12 to 5 p.m. and spread the word. And more information to come, spread the word. And looking forward to hearing President Bailey also. Thank you.
Thank you, Second VP, and thank you for lifting up that event. We're aiming for 1,000 participants. We're going to be giving out free haircuts. We're going to be registering voters. We're going to be giving out headshots, offering career advice, updating resumes. We'll have food, music, really just to be a service to the community. And so we look forward to seeing you there. All right, let me bring up our illustrious president of the Virginia State Conference, Reverend Cozy Bailey. Currently lives in Dumfries. He serves as the president of the Virginia NAACP and as an associate member of the First Mount Zion Baptist Church in Dumfries, Virginia. He has served as an ordained minister since June of 2010, which was preceded by his 20-year service as a deacon. Reverend Bailey serves as a commissioned officer in the United States Marine Corps. This tenure, he earned several accolades. He served in Operation Desert Storm, received the Navy Commendation Medal, Defense Meritorious Medal, a Meritorious Service Medal, and the Legion of Merit before later retiring as a lieutenant colonel. Reverend Bailey received his bachelor's degree from the Naval Academy, and he later attained his master's degree from Boston University while actively serving in the military. Reverend Bailey is a member of the Omega Phi Fraternity Incorporated. All right, President Bailey, thank you so much for being here. I know that you have a very, very busy schedule, and we're honored to have you here to address our membership. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right, President Heminger, thank you so much for the invitation and allowing me to speak to one of the greatest branches of the NAACP, not only in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but in the United States of America. So let me stop right there and do the stereotypical sound check. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes. All right, great. We got used to doing that during COVID, didn't we? So how much time do I have first, President Heminger?
You are the last main event on the agenda, so take as much time as you need.
Okay, because thank you for that, because I want to talk about some philosophical things, and then I want to talk about some tactical things as well, okay? And so let me begin here. Given the broad and overarching topics that President Heminger has asked me to speak about, and then including the specific, I wanted to, as we preachers like to say, I wanted for us to center on a couple of things as we ponder the true importance of voting in general, but especially this year in 2024. I recall that the motto of the Congressional Black Caucus is that Black people have no permanent enemies and no permanent friends, just permanent interests. And that was nailed home to me by the person who actually appointed me to the United States Naval Academy and one of the charter members of the Congressional Black Caucus, former Congressman Bill Clay from Missouri. And I had the opportunity to sit down with Congressman Clay. He actually gave me, he wrote a book called No Permanent Interests, autographed it for me, and I asked him to speak to me a little bit about why the Congressional Black Caucus chose that as their motto. And as I watched that 2.5 minute or so video featuring the illustrious Skip Gates from Harvard, I think the answer was given to us then during that 10-year period of Reconstruction following the Civil War, where, as Skip Gates says, and I may take issue with him there, that, you know, the African Americans enjoyed the same rights that were guaranteed to others by the Constitution, and then the Bill of Rights, and then we had to have the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But it was fleeting. The 10-year period ended just before the dawn of the 20th century. And as he stated accurately, a whole generation went by before we had anyone at the federal level representing us. And so that kind of illustrates the lack of permanency of rights, both human and civil, for Black people in America. You know, we have a saying in across the country and here in the Commonwealth that this is the most important election that you will ever see. And us in the Commonwealth, right, we scratch our heads and say, how can that be? We have an election every year. But every election is critical. And this one is, in fact, critical for African Americans. This year, as we all know, as President Hemminger told us, we have the presidential election, for which Virginia has decided to be part of Super Tuesday, and that election will take place on March the 5th. We also then have the re-election of all of our Congress people, the total of 11 congressional districts within the Commonwealth of Virginia. And there's some critical seats that are there, two critical seats that are open seats this year, the 7th Congressional District and the 10th Congressional District. And I know that Arlington is not there. I happen to live in the 7th Congressional District. Both of those districts have been represented by people who are generally aligned with the ideologies of the NAACP. And I say it that way, and I say it carefully to highlight the fact that we are, in fact, a nonpartisan organization. Although historically, Black people have voted more loyally to a party than any other demographic within this country. You know, I, during my lifetime, and I'm older than probably most of the people on this call, that loyalty has been to one specific party, the party who holds the White House right now. But most of us who are students of history know that prior to 1960, it was the other party that most Black people voted for, beginning back during the time of Abraham Lincoln. Black people have usually tried to vote ideologically, and ideally, that's the way for us to vote. But when we look at some of the challenges that we have here in the nation and specifically in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we come to understand why our national organization has determined that the Commonwealth of Virginia is one of the priority states, one of 8, that will receive focus from national. What that means is that there will be extra resources above and beyond what we normally receive in order to assist us in our quest for voter education, voter registration, and voter turnout. Now, here's the reason that that's occurred. A few statistics. It's been determined that probably 14% of the voters across the country this year will be African American. You know, historically, up until a few years ago, African Americans have been the largest, quote unquote, minority demographic within this country, and I hate using the term minority, but between 2020 and 2024, the number of eligible voters, and that's the number I'm talking about, among African Americans has increased 7%, meaning in 2020, African Americans were 7% of the eligible voters. This year, 14%. Then we look at another demographic. 21% of the eligible voters in the Commonwealth of Virginia are African American this year. 21% of the eligible voters in the Commonwealth of Virginia are African American. And we are less than 15% of the population of the Commonwealth of Virginia. What that means is we have power. There is power in the African American vote. Now, we know that no demographic truly votes in a monolithic way, but it helps to increase and understand the power of the vote that we will have this year. Now pivoting back to why National has targeted us, even as African Americans are 21% of the eligible voters in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that puts us in the top 10 of that particular demographic within the nation, we also have one of the highest percentages of unregistered African American voters, particularly African American men. And so our focus is going to be voter education and registration, especially for African American men, and then of course get out the vote for all people who agree with us ideologically, but we want everyone to exercise that precious franchise of voting. Another thing that we're also focusing on this year, even more so than we have in the past, is efforts to increase voter protection. And so we will continue to have information sessions and education sessions and registration sessions that will be facilitated and administered by our national organization to ensure that every locality within the Commonwealth of Virginia has the framework to actually do its own voter protection. What is voter protection? Voter protection, first of all, of course, is to ensure that everyone knows where it is they can vote, what they need to do, and that's part of the overall umbrella of registration and education. But it also puts into place an infrastructure for reporting problems that some may have at the polls, who are being unfairly or illegally denied the opportunity to submit a vote that day, as opposed to having to go to the side, if you will, and do a provisional vote. It is about literally protecting the physical safety for those who may find themselves in an environment of true physical voter suppression, and a way of quickly dealing with those problems during the March 5th primary and the June 18th primary, as well as the general election in November. For all three of those entities, we will have National will be operating a crisis center with tentacles throughout the nation to law enforcement and lawyers on staff to solve those challenges as they are reported in real time. So let me stop right there and see if the information I've given, both the ideological and the practical and tactical, has generated any questions. And if you put them in the chat, President Heminger, I was not monitoring the chat.
Does anyone have any questions for President Bailey on anything he's discussed so far? Feel free to raise your hand or type them in the chat.
Okay, while that is while people are thinking about that, President Heminger, I'm going to go on to some other things. What is your state
Bailey,
conference?
We do have one.
I see one.
All right.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Miss Prince Wheeler, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the overview. Really helpful to hear all the information coming together and the focus on the state of Virginia. You mentioned African American men being a target for voter registration. What are some of the ideas that you have initially to target that specific group?
So outreach is, thank you for the question, first of all. Outreach is so important. You know, I believe that the best way for us to conduct that outreach is for me and others to get the message that I'm conveying to you this evening to branches throughout. Each of the branches throughout the Commonwealth obviously know their area better than others. And then once that outreach has begun, to provide the type of information that would instill a sense of enthusiasm for Black men to vote. And, you know, and one of the things that I've come to understand is that there are certain age demographics among Black men who find it useless, if you will, their words, not mine, to exercise the precious franchise of voting. They think it doesn't make a difference. They think that it is not important, that their vote doesn't count. People of my generation, and you look up and you can see this gray beard, have a acute understanding of the importance of their vote. And so that's kind of my way of easing into, Ms. Prince Wheeler, the fact that it is the Gen Xers and Gen Zs and Gen Ys who are eligible to vote, who we are going to be targeting the most, which for me fits right into one of my 5 primary objectives, to have more outreach to our youth and to get them involved in the fight for freedom and social justice in the way that many of us old timers have continued. And so I think, you know, as we center into that question, you know, what types of things will appeal to them? I think that, you know, one of the tools is for us who've been on the battlefield, if you will, and had our hand on the plow for a long time, to get them to understand the importance of that history, to get them to understand that ideologically, you can have your own ideas, and those folks who are a generation younger than I am do have different ideas from a political standpoint. That's not what should keep them from voting, however. We want them to vote. We want them to be registered to vote. We want them to be educated on how to vote, and then to get them actually to do that. And so that's some of my thoughts about getting Black men to vote. But there's also a well-defined and prepared education package that National will be rolling out to us and the other 6 priority states as well. So again, thank you for that question.
President Bailey, there was a question in the chat. What are your thoughts on how to best leverage our efforts by collaborating with the League of Women Voters?
Yeah, League of Women Voters, you know, as you stated, President Heminger, you know, the NAACP is the oldest and the boldest and the best, you know, social justice advocacy organization, not only that this country, but the world has ever known, comma. And the League of Women Voters is one of the best, oldest and boldest organizations for voter registration that this world has ever known. There's always been a really natural partnership and alliance between our organization and the League of Women Voters. So what should we do? At the grassroots level, at the branch and unit level, we should continue to foster those relationships. And the League of Women Voters is very good at getting people out, you know, at different venues to set up voter registration booths. At the state level, we are already partnering with them. Some of you may already know during this legislative session on some of the things that we both agree on. League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, we're nonpartisan, but we all believe that right is right, especially in human rights. And so we should continue those types of activities as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. A quick question from Sister Robinson. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say how much I really appreciate you coming out today and speaking with us on this very, very important topic of voting. I want to in respect of everyone's time tonight, I don't want to pretty up the words. I just want to cut right to the chase. I understand that my understanding is that you're preaching to the choir. Some of us kind of late in life understand the importance of voting. The people who are not here are the ones who you just explained really need to have a way of understanding what the power of our vote really is. We're not talking about these in the churches if we're not having these conversations, because other places they're having these conversations. And the church is still one of the largest collective of people in our communities that still have an ear or some respect. And we have multi-generations in these areas. How do we propose to affect our people, to empower them? And the thing that I have the most thing with is that if we continue to do things the same way, how do we think that we're going to get a different result? Our young people are our future. Instead of trying to get them to conform to how we want them to do things because we've been at the plow for so long, why don't we ask them what would they do to empower us, our vote? Because what we've been doing is not effective as they might see it in their younger generation. We're saying that we're still fighting for the same things 50 years later, or are we employing any different mechanisms for doing this? I love what you said at the beginning, because you said we don't have any permanent friends or any permanent enemies. And since we're a nonpartisan organization, are we empowering our people to make the best decisions or to just follow the party line that somebody else has imposed on us? Because when I listened to WPFW today, they had a very important program that had a recording and played it. And I know with AI, we can be duped with the imitation of people who we know. But it was said by someone very close to most of us that if you don't vote for me, you're not Black. And that's insultive as the conversation went on that program. And so do we have a respect for our own vote, to where are we just voting along the party lines because to mention the other party might invoke? There's something about how we're doing things in the old fashioned that isn't working for us. So why do we continue to do it the same old way? How do we invite the young people in with their bright new ideas of how we could perhaps impress upon them how important this history is? Because the story of how important it is, it didn't impress me when I was at that age. Because honestly, I didn't believe I had anything to vote for. I finally had to come around, and I don't mind saying that I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to exercise the power of the vote that we really do have. And it's not just the Black vote. It's good people who know that something is not right with what we're calling democracy. And there are people who want to do something about it, but their voices are being silenced. Are we going to listen to the voices of our young people? Because they are our future. And how can we, at this very, very, very important election, actually reach them and ask for their help instead of trying to get them to do what isn't working for us? And that's my question. Not to you particularly, sir. I'm not trying to corner you with that question. I want each of us to examine in your church, if you go to church, or in your organization, are you doing the same old thing and getting the same result? Is anyone in your church even bold enough to mention that we should be talking about this election? Because it is very important. Because if the other guy gets it, and that's all I'm going to say. And thank you so much for letting me just spew that out there without the pretty words to go with it. Please don't hold it against me. I don't mean insult to anyone and everyone. We've got to work together, or we're going to end up in worse conditions than we had after Reconstruction. And I'm done. Thank you.
Obviously, there's much to be said about using new, fresh, and innovative tools in order to attack an age-old problem. And that age-old problem, ends up being apathy for whatever reason. I can agree with much of what Ms. Robinson just said. I will tell you that the Virginia Conference NAACP, again, has a focus on youth. I have partnered very tightly with the state youth president. It appears to me that this branch, with your accommodation for your youth council president, also understands that. And so it does begin with understanding what is it that motivates young people, and without making any assumptions that we know the answer to that, because I will tell you, I have found that some of my preconceived notions are not true, and then be open enough to work with them. Again, it is not about convincing anyone of an ideology. It is about convincing everyone that for a democracy to work, and this democratic republic that we have to work, it takes work. It takes involvement from everyone. And that message is one that I think does resonate, because one thing I have found about those XYZ generations that I talked about is that each and every one has a desire to be an important, critical part of something that's greater than themselves. And that I think is the beginning of how we touch them even more. Another question.
Thank you, Mr. President. No further questions in the chat. You are generating a lot of insight and sparking a lot of ideas from our members. I see lots of collaboration opportunities going on. I did want to recognize that 2 other members of the Virginia State Conference Executive Committee have joined. I'd like to welcome Ms. Karen Kemlin and Ms. E.J. Scott to the call this evening.
Thank you for that. And if I can, a little point of state president's privilege, there are others from the Prince William branch. Ms. Camblin is from the Fairfax branch. Ms. Scott is from the Prince William branch, my home. And I see also our, and Ms. Scott is our first vice president there. Our third vice president, Mr. Sonny Cuffey, is on, and he is a strong environmental justice warrior along with Karen Camplin. They are 2 peas in a pod. And I think I saw their AXO director on a little bit earlier also, Mr. Arts, and hopefully some of you know him. He has carried that AXO program from infancy to the point where it is now, stretching throughout all of Northern Virginia, and one of the more recognized programs within the nation here, actually.
Cozy, I'm also your little voting spy too.
Yeah, so Mr. Cuffey is a what is the
election chief?
There you go. He's an election chief, and so he's going to critique me to make sure I didn't say anything wrong or inaccurate afterwards.
Well, you know, I'm going to say this. I think people do not see that to the winner comes the spoils, and included in those spoils are the state election board, as well as all of the city and county boards. So in this case, the Republicans are represented in the majority on all electoral boards because of the fact of the representation in Richmond. And we don't, it's big ball, election stuff that we tend to, not look at. I mean, we like people, I mean, we kind of think, okay, we can vote, but we don't look at who makes the rules. If you got to be able to make the rules, if you don't vote, then you can't make the rules.
Yeah, also been said, yeah, if you don't vote and someone ends up in office that is counter to your beliefs, you shame on you, because each and every vote counts. President Heminger, let me give one example of some of the things that we need to continue to keep in mind and how important it is as we talk to others. And I appreciate Ms. Robinson saying this is the choir I'm preaching to. But then what we hope happens then is that this choir goes out and sings to the community on the tune that we all agree upon. The city of Virginia Beach is the largest incorporated city in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And they are fighting for a better construct for all of the citizens there. And here's what I mean. I believe that Arlington is very similar to Prince William in that you have magisterial districts. In Prince William, there's 7 magisterial districts geographically, and the people in those districts then vote for their representative on the Board of Supervisors, and everybody in the county votes for the chair of the Board of Supervisors. Virginia Beach has had a different construct. Basically, they have a mixture of those geographic districts and some at large, meaning everybody votes for those folks. What has occurred is that, again, as African Americans generally are 12 to 14% of population in each locality, and Virginia Beach is no different, African Americans have almost been literally shut out as far as representation on the local main political board there. So what they did was they commissioned the University of Virginia to do a scientific political poll to determine if any of the population, and if so, how much of the population wanted a shift to a pure geographic magisterial district plus everyone vote for the chair. That came back with 81% of the population of Virginia Beach, a city of about 500,000 people, who wanted what they call a 10-1, 10 magisterial districts and 1 mayor there. Now, because of some of the remnants of Reconstruction, no city in Virginia can change its charter without permission from the General Assembly and ultimately the governor. 2 of the local representatives from Virginia Beach decided that it wasn't in their personal interest to support what 81% of the population of Virginia Beach had asked for. This created quite a conundrum for the other representatives of Virginia Beach. So what did they do? They called the NAACP. We quickly put together a press conference. We strategized on how we would do it. And it was determined that the press conference should be run by NAACP and invite the representatives who had been voted into office. And here's why that happened. The NAACP is a nonpartisan organization. So we issued invitations to all representatives, no matter what party they were in. And of course, those who were in opposition, who were from a different party, didn't show up. But what we were able to do was convince other members who lived outside of Virginia Beach to vote in favor of that initiative. And now both houses have passed it, and that's what is going to be submitted to the governor. That is the power of the NAACP. That is the power of coming together on an important initiative. This one was a combination civil rights and human rights initiative that had nothing to do with political party, but everything to do with the will of the people. Now, no matter what age you are, no matter whether you're churched or unchurched, no matter what demographic you belong to based upon race, gender, age, or what have you, everybody understands that. And those are the kinds of things that this choir needs to go out and talk to different portions of your community and get them to understand that.
Thank you, Mr. President. How can Arlingtonians best help with elections in other parts of the Commonwealth?
So you're already doing that by sending your, and I'm going to use his word, illustrious president, who I think most of you know was nominated by me and confirmed by our state EC as the regional vice president, to bring that acumen, those things that Arlington does well, and that perspective into the state. And so by sending President Heminger, to do those things, you've already stepped up there. tomorrow, it's short notice. I think you heard about it, but tomorrow there will be a press conference at the Bell Tower on the grounds of the Capitol. If anyone was planning to come on out there. We're really calling upon our members who are close into Richmond, but if you can come down there, it's called Protect Your Power with a focus on youth. One of our featured speakers is in fact going to be the president of the Youth Council for the Commonwealth of Virginia's NAACP, Mr. Tyleek Chambers, who lives in Charlottesville. Come do that. We would be doing future press conferences and rallies around both the presidential primary on the 5th, the general primary on June 18th, and the general. And there may be times we ask you to come out of your comfort zone, out of the warmth of Arlington, and join us in other parts of the Commonwealth, specifically Richmond. And that would be very, very helpful, President Hemingway.
Thank you, Mr. President. What is at stake if we don't turn out the Black vote? I love that you called out 21% expected turnout this year and the power in that. If we don't turn out the Black vote, what's at stake in this upcoming election?
So if we don't turn out the Black vote, then those things that we hold near and dear to our hearts will continue to fail. Those things that we have been working so hard for on reforming the way, restoration of rights for formerly convicted felons who with incredible numbers are people of color, specifically black men, will continue to have to be the only state in the union who has to actively petition to one person, the governor, in order to get their right to vote back after they paid their debts to society. If we don't come out there to vote, those things that we've been working so hard for criminal justice reform throughout the Commonwealth, those things where some would have to put in the onerous license plate reader, okay, as another way of defining and racial profiling, to have that document of using that license plate reader and running people, to see if they've had this kind of ticket or that kind of ticket. We'll continue to suffer under those things. We'll continue to suffer having to undo many of the things that are in the 1901 Constitution of this Commonwealth that serve to perpetuate Reconstruction as opposed to move us further and further away. How many of us know that we talk about a civil rights era, that we think went from 1955 and to 1968? How many of us know that we are still fighting for civil rights within this country, and we're still fighting for human rights? And so if we don't turn out the vote, the time that we spend, forgive my analogy here, wandering in the wilderness and looking for the promised land will continue longer and longer and longer. But if we come to vote, we can affect that change in a more expeditious manner.
Wow, powerful words. I know First Vice President asked everyone to take notes. I have one more question, President Bailey, and I'm going to bring up a special guest as I ask this, but what is your call to action to the Arlington branch and branches across the Commonwealth as we prepare to mobilize voters and have the highest Black voter turnout this year?
So I would say lead by example first. Okay, I have found that some of even our Silver Life members who have been proud social justice warriors for a long time sometimes will sit back and vote. And in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the advances that we made on voting opportunity, let's not make those fleeting. You can vote so easily in this Commonwealth right now. So that's the first thing. Lead by example. The second thing is to continue to do what you're doing with your youth organization, and not only NAACP youth, but the variety of things that occur in your high schools. And to reach out there, I think I saw something in the chat that League of Women Voters goes to high school. If you're doing that, double down on doing that, and continue to work there. I know that the people in Arlington are very involved in what we used to call welfare types of activities, for those who are less fortunate. make sure we touch those folks also, because they're eligible voters who can participate in a process that will have a direct effect on making their lives better. So that would be my call to action, lead by example, touch the youth, and then touch others. With all due respect to Ms. Robinson, I understand what she was saying about churches. It's been my experience, however, that two things, and my folks in Prince William know how blunt I can get, and President Hemminger, you've seen me do this. Okay, Black churches don't talk about social justice enough anymore. We've gotten to this point where we think we've arrived. The second point, though, is that the vast majority of folks in Black churches are already registered voters. And so, you literally preaching to a choir there. Of course, there's some folks there who aren't registered, but we need to get outside the walls, and that's why, I talked about people that we think, are whatever the analogy is to unchurched, unregistered to vote. Those folks who we know have a propensity to not be players, in this political process. So that would be the third thing that I would call for you action to do. And that takes work. It's easy to walk into a church and talk to people who are already voting. That's easy. It's hard searching the folks out who have been marginalized, but don't recognize how they can help themselves come into the fold.
That's right. So I heard you say we have a lot at stake. I heard you say lead by example and get outside the walls. And I brought up a freedom fighter. Miss Joan, are you able to come off camera by chance? So we have a local freedom fighter I wanted to introduce you to. And as you again said, there's so much at stake, lead by example and getting outside the walls. I just couldn't help but think of Joan Mulholland. I see that you're on with us, but it looks like you might be having some technology issues. But Ms. Mulholland was extremely active in the lunch counter sit-ins, the bus boycotts, so much in Arlington in our history we owe to this esteemed freedom fighter. So Joan, are you there?
I'm here, but I don't know how to get my picture up there.
Okay, that's all right.
What's happening?
Say hello to the state conference president.
Well, hello. And go get in some good trouble, as we used to say.
All right.
That's
well,
right.
They still say, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Miss Joan. And I know you
and
just
if
got
you don't vote, you don't count.
That's right.
And too many people died for you to have the right to vote.
100% agree. So I know she did just get back from a world tour. So welcome back to Arlington. All right, Mr. President, I can't thank you enough for all of this information. We have recorded tonight's information. We're going to push it out to our listserv. We're going to push it out on our social media. And I'm just incredibly grateful to have you here with us this evening.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you all, Arlington, for the work that you have been doing. It is significant. It is noticed not just in the Commonwealth, but as President Hemminger knows, our national organization recognizes it as well, and you are making a difference. So thank you all very much, and keep on fighting.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to move us to some announcements, and I have a quick video I'm going to show at the very end when we talk about getting into some good trouble. Our branch did get into some good trouble. So there's a quick video I want to show you if you could stay around. So I'd like to move us to an update from Religious Affairs. Do we have Pastor Davis with us?
I do not believe so.
Okay, great. Madam Assistant Secretary, would you like to address the membership and give us a membership update?
I would. Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, give me one moment. Okay, go for it. You should be good now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
No? You able to see it now?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, let me try it again.
Might be another window. I know I do that sometimes. There you go. It looks like it's loading. All right, we can see your screen.
Okay, awesome. All right, great. Well, I could not say this any better than you did at the beginning of the meeting, Mr. President, but everybody is encouraged to please be a member. Just because you get our newsletters in your email does not mean that your dues are paid. So if you have any doubts, please email me. I'm Assistant Secretary at arlingtonnaacp.com. But for February, we ran a drive, a membership drive. Our goal was 30 new or renewing members. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody who has actually renewed or become a new member, because as of 30 minutes ago, we are at 28 new or renewing members. So help us reach our goal. We only need 2 more people. And thank you to the couple people who actually put something in the chat that you just became members, or that you want to become a member of our branch. So I'll be reaching out to you, and thank you. If you have any questions at all, you do need your membership number to actually renew. If you need your membership number, I can look it up for you. So just send me an email. And the other thing I want to say is, if you think you're a Silver Life member and you didn't see your name on that list at the beginning, I will tell you that you probably signed up for 10 years of $75 a year. And so that means you're a Silver Life subscribing member. But we have lots of Silver Life subscribing members who actually did not continue with the $75, and they were waiting for some sort of email for us a couple of years ago when they started. So if you think you're a Silver Life member, please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to let you know what the status is. And that's what I've got for you.
All right, thank you as always, Madam Assistant Secretary. To all of you that are joining our call, could not be more proud to lead this branch. It's an honor. I have no doubt that we're going to find 2 more members by the time we close out this meeting. So we're that close to accomplishing our membership goal for February. We just need 2 more. So Madam Assistant Secretary, thank you so much. I appreciate all that you're doing. All right, next up, I want to hear an update from our Education Committee. But before I do, I just wanted to acknowledge a very important guest, Ms. Deborah Britton. I know you don't like to be publicly recognized, but I did have to just honor and celebrate you for all that you do, seen and unseen, for our young people. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Madam Education Chair, the floor is yours.
I have nothing to update this month.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Legal redress.
Hi, everyone. We recently had a meeting with some other people who are interested in starting a community advisory group with the sheriff's office. So that's going well. We're trying to recommend a group to the sheriff's office to have to help identify issues and build trust with the community and the sheriff's office. We've gotten some new complaints that we're going through, and we are looking for attorneys who might be willing to help people navigate their complaints. Mostly right now looking for attorneys who have experience in education law and disciplinary issues with the school. So if anyone knows anyone, please reach out to me. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I talked about good trouble, folks, you're going to see momentarily what I mean about good trouble. So, Madam Legal Redress Chair, thank you for all that you do. You're doing so much behind the scenes that never gets noticed. So I want to publicly recognize you. Next up, political action, also another very active committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so definitely really grateful for President Bailey's presentation tonight, and really excited to see all of the engagement and interest in the chat and during the meeting. So I definitely want to really encourage everyone. There's so many ways to get engaged with our political action committee on the issues of voter engagement. Would love to hear your ideas. We're out there in the community. I'm doing tables. We're going to have door-to-door events coming up over the summer at affordable housing properties. But we know that there's a lot of other things that we could be doing to reach people with this important message. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat again. We meet every month on the second or third Wednesday, depending on the month. But yeah, we have a lot of, opportunities to get involved, either just through being a part of our committee and kind of like sharing your thoughts and ideas on, what we can be doing, but also actually being on the ground and, doing the work of reaching voters with this really important information. So yeah, I'll put my information again in the chat to reach out. But yeah, I really hope to hear from more of you and, to continue really working together on this really important issue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you tell the members about the MOU that we just signed?
Yeah, so kind of like I briefly alluded to, so we usually do door-to-door voter engagement events at affordable housing properties to just inform voters about elections, help people to get registered to vote, inform about other voting issues like restoration of rights, things like that. So we have really good partnerships with the major affordable housing partners here in Arlington. And recently, with the support of DETA, who is our lead for voter engagement, we were able to execute a MOU to do voter engagement work with APA properties. So we're really excited to formalize our partnership with them in that way. We work with other affordable housing partners as well. But yeah, it's definitely a really good move to just have that, in writing. So yeah, that's again, another way that you can get involved is doing door-to-door events. It's a really good way to reach people directly. And we do need, a lot of support to make that happen. So yeah, if you're interested in any and all of that work, please reach out to me. And I'll put my information in the chat again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate all of your hard work. Madam Secretary, did I miss anything?
No, you did not.
Okay, I want to also just, I saw that someone said DETA rocks the vote. I agree. Incredible volunteer. All right, so I'm going to bring us to a close. There's a quote from John Lewis that I love. I'd love to read that to you, and then we're going to watch a quick video about HB 102. So John Lewis said, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It's the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get into some good trouble, necessary trouble." And so I want to tell you a little bit about HB 102. It was a bill from Delegate Hope. What it attempted to do was shift the burden of responsibility from the jail administrator to the healthcare provider. Obviously, our branch, we had some serious concerns with that bill. So we met with Delegate Hope, and he admitted that it was an oversight on his part. He agreed with our philosophy and where we were coming from, and he committed that he would make the necessary amendments or changes to that bill. Unfortunately, the bill, by the time we had heard about it, had already come out of the House. And so the bill did make its way over to the Senate. And at the 11th hour, we were on several different calls. It was a coordinated effort from the local branch and the state conference. But we had calls with Senator Favola, Senator Carol Foy, Senator Saddam Salim, so many people as they were in session deliberating these bills. And so I wanted to lift that up because it shows, one, the power and strength of the association, that we could pick up the phone and call a senator at the 11th hour while they're in session getting ready to hear a bill. But two, just the importance of those relationships. And it highlights a fraction of the work that our good branch does almost every single day. And so I wanted to show this video before we leave of how we were able to really save the day. We got so many calls after that bill was heard that it was our testimony that stopped that change. And so there are people across the entire Commonwealth of Virginia, even tonight, that are benefiting from that advocacy. And so that's really what it's all about. If you're not a member, it's a great time to join one of the most active branches in the entire country. So let me go ahead and share this screen. And Madam Secretary, I'll need your help just to make sure you can see and hear. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm gonna start the audio. Just let me know if you can hear it.
Your testimony.
Yes.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Great. Here we go. It's about 2 minutes. Bear with us. It's an incredible effort.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. A warm welcome, especially to the new senators here today.
Good morning.
My name is Amy Stitzel from Arlington, Virginia, and I'm speaking as the NAACP Arlington Branch Legal Redress Chair. I'm speaking against the portion of the bill that limits the board's oversight ability to find a jail in violation of minimum health care
Excuse me.
standards.
Could you turn your camera on, please?
I see there's another speaker. Good morning, Madam Chair, Committee. There was some role that last night we have not heard back from
Mallory on behalf of the Virginia NAACP.
If they're online, but you can.
Also speaking for the Arlington NAACP, and I don't want to steal their thunder. They may be online. Are they on?
I'm sorry?
They may be online. I don't want to speak for them if they're on themselves. The Arlington NAACP.
I don't know if they're online, but you can certainly speak, and we will allow
Michael Heminger.
We will
Okay.
allow Mike Henninger to speak.
Okay.
Or- go ahead.
So as you already stated, Madam President, we do have issues with the bill in the current form. We do know that there is an amendment pending. The bill attempts to shift responsibility and accountability from the jail administrator to the medical provider. As some are aware, the Arlington branch has been fighting for justice for years on the behalf of those incarcerated at the Arlington County Detention Center. We believe this bill creates a loophole and for jail administrators to pass blame onto medical providers and to shirk their responsibility to provide adequate care for those incarcerated. Further, we believe the jail administrator who currently supervises the jail medical provider bears ultimate responsibility for everyone that is remanded to their custody. Due to racism, discrimination, and other systemic disparities, this bill will adversely impact Black and brown people. And there is more, but I'll leave it there if the delegate is not here. And that is all.
Thank you.
So speaking on behalf of the NAACP Arlington branch, Amy Stitzel again. So the proposed bill removes the incentives for the jail to monitor and correct healthcare issues or disputes in its jail system. The board has identified the health and mental health of people in custody as its primary concern in the last two board annual reports. In the latest board annual report, where the jails were found to be out of compliance with a minimum standard in 18 deaths, 5 of those were attributable to healthcare standards. And because these jails were found in violation, they had to take corrective actions. Those corrective actions included enhanced procedures to call 911, adding staff to monitor people in custody with mental health issues, adding nurses, replacing their healthcare provider, and adding mental health professionals. This bill removes the requirement for jails to take any of those corrective steps. It's been suggested that we can't hold the administration liable for the healthcare provider decisions and that this is done in other settings. But in those other settings, a person is not in custody of the government with no ability to leave. Does DOC have a carve out for the prisons? Does our neighbor, Maryland, the Commission on Correctional Standards, have a carve out for their jails? Further, the board is not holding the jail liable or negligent in a civil context. All they're doing is finding an administrative requirement that the jail has to take some corrective action if they're out of compliance with the minimum healthcare standards. We ask that you vote against reporting this bill, and thank you for your time.
All right, freedom fighters. So that's really what it's all about. You know, every single period, every comma, every single word in a bill has the potential to disparately impact historically marginalized communities. That's why we're on the front lines. And so I want to give a huge heartfelt thank you to our legal redress chair who was able to catch this at the 11th hour. So as we close, I'm going to read that quote again, and I'll go ahead and dismiss us. Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, week, a month, or a year. It's the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. Thank you, freedom fighters, for being here this evening. Let's get into some good trouble. Thank you so much.